Right. Oh, I put him in candy cane. That's fine. All right, welcome back to another episode.
What's up?
We are moving on from the misunderstood Bible verses.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking about some holy habits.
Yep.
Before we do that, Asha, what you got?
Friends. Whoa, that's kind of loud. Today we're going to play charades.
Like fully acted out charades?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Okay.
So I think this works better if like one person has to text, like, okay, wait. Wait. This works better in my head. Hold on. Yeah. Like, I'll text Ariel a word,
I have
and
to act
she
it out
has
for
to
Kevin.
act it out,
Gotcha.
and you have to guess. Or, like, you two have to guess, or, like, you know.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, who wants to go first?
Kevin.
Okay.
Is there any rhyme or reason behind what we're acting out? Like, are they all the same category, same topic?
No.
Okay. Do you want me to just hold it?
Did you see what an accent is?
I heard it after. It wasn't an accent. It was more so like, well, I was holding it right there. Ready? She texted you.
Okay.
3 words. Table. Box. Fire in the box. Roasting. Flipping a burger. Flipping a grill. Flipping. First word. You, barbecuing, grill master. Grill, barbecue, master. First word. Flip. Turn. How close am I?
Very close.
Yeah.
Turn. Flip, turn. You. Placing. Saute.
Okay. We'll just.
Can I get?
Yeah, we'll just give it to you. Grilling a burger.
Grilling a
I
burger?
didn't know how to get you to get back to
Oh.
burger. You said flipping, which is I felt was kind of right.
Okay. Okay. You ready?
Yes. 3 words. Table, box, flat surface.
Okay.
Dipping, shoveling, digging, burying, planting a tree, planting a shrub, planting potatoes, the potatoes from your neighbor's yard, picking flowers, smelling the roses, smelling daisies, smelling a jasmine flower, growing a tree.
We're gonna rewind.
Okay, rewinding, okay. Planting, okay. A seed. Planting a flower?
There you go.
Oh.
Farrah's gonna do one.
Ooh.
Okay.
Go ahead, Farah. How many words? For 3 words. Washing your face. Oh,
Fire. Smoke.
no.
Chimney.
Wait. Digging.
Digging.
Planting a tree. Picking an apple.
Picking an orange.
Picking a fruit.
Picking a
Picking from a
pineapple.
tree.
Picking a coconut. Picking a mango. What else grows on a tree? Okay.
Picking a pineapple?
Pineapples grow from the ground.
I literally said what else grows on a tree because I didn't know what grows on a tree. So I just started calling fruits out. I was about to call it potatoes.
And grapes.
All right.
Okay. Another team building exercise.
Yeah. Very great. All right. So this. Hold on. I have too much candy cane. Okay. So this series, or this, we're moving on to holy habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Topic. What are some habits that we have in our everyday life? Open to the audience. And AV as well. What are some habits you have?
Drinking coffee in the morning.
Okay.
But drinking tea at night.
Okay.
Washing my face.
Yeah. What's a habit you have?
I have to think about it. It's not watching TV.
Okay. Notice how none of you said reading your Bible or praying, you heathens.
I didn't know it was supposed to be.
It's a habit. Is it not? Anyway, moving on. That wasn't the point of the question. The point of the question was just to basically just describe what a habit is, right? It's something that we do in our everyday life. It's part of our routine. It's something that we do a lot of times just I guess in habit, right? It's just what you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, what are some holy habits that we can incorporate into our life if we have not already?
Praying.
Praying, reading our Bible, spending time in worship, preaching or spreading the word,
Going to church.
right? Going to church.
Fasting.
So, fasting? Yeah.
Okay.
So today we're going to be talking about making peace, right?
Okay.
That is the habit that we will be inhabiting.
Okay.
No, that's just what we're going to be talking about, right? I think especially nowadays, there's a lot happening in the world that can trigger a lot of people, right? It's very easy to get into an argument, a disagreement. Actually, not a disagreement, because you can have peaceful disagreements, but an argument or like just elevate tensions among a lot of people groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do we maintain that air of peace about us? Kevin? I know for me, I am quick to get heated for a lot of situations. Right?
No, not you.
So what I have had to learn is how to maintain the peace within myself. Is that something you have had experience with?
Yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I was definitely quick to get angry, I would say. So that was something I had to, kind of figure out and work on and have that level of discipline that, even if I am angry, it's not showing, control my words, my
Yeah.
actions, all that kind of stuff.
Just like maintain your emotions, right? Because is it easy to show that God is working in and through us if we are quick to anger and quick to clap back and speak out?
No.
Right.
And I feel like the Bible also warns against being quick to anger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Bible does talk about a few ways to handle our conflict, right?
Okay.
Do you know any of the ways?
Turn the other cheek.
Okay. Yep.
I know one verse that says that if you're in a conflict, you should speak to the person first, and if they don't listen, then you bring it up to
Mhm.
the church. and then the elders.
Opposite. So person,
Oh.
elders, church, right? You bring it to the larger group last, no?
Probably. That
Yeah.
seems right. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That was also one of the verses we talked about in the previous.
Mhm.
That was Matthew 18:20. Right? So yes, talk to the person first. If it's not able to resolve, then you elevate it and then elevate it again. Or escalate, sorry, not elevate. Right? The Bible also says that we should be forgiving freely. It
Mhm.
also says, going back to the anger, right? Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Right?
Mhm.
It also says in Matthew 5, right? To keep it between you, if you have a conflict with a person, keep it between the two of you, right? And try to resolve the problem regardless of who is at fault. Right? So those are just a few different ways that the Bible says that we should be handling these conflicts. Can you guess what one common thread is among them?
We should be striving for peace.
Yes. But there's also, so yes, and it's also, when you're encountering these situations, you should not be, like we talked about in the previous series, it's about your intention, right?
Mhm.
Are you intending to go into this and be angry about it, or are you intending to fix a behavior, fix a problem, come to an understanding,
Mhm.
right? So, in Matthew 18:15, Jesus essentially tells us to go directly to the person that we might be having a conflict with, right?
Mhm.
Instead of waiting for someone else to act, or a lot of times we can find ourselves talking to other people about this problem. But when we talk to other people about these problems, does it resolve it?
I feel like it depends on.
Like if I'm just going to gossip about a situation or just
Oh
vent,
yeah, no. If
vent
you're,
about it
oh,
to
I
someone
thought
else,
you meant
talk
if you're
about
talking
this
to the
person
person
did.
about it.
No, to someone else.
If you're, yes and no. If you're just gossiping about it, you're not really working towards a solution. I can understand you going to someone, hey, this and this happened. How should I approach it? How should
Yeah.
I deal with it? And you're looking for advice from someone who can actually
Advise.
give advice, right? And not just again talking to
Anyone that'll listen.
right. Yeah, so I think it depends. Going back, what is your intention? Is your intention to just feed the flame of the conflict? Then you're not. If you're looking to, how do I put out this flame? I think you're, and at least intention-wise, you're in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, right? So if I'm intending to stifle this fire, right, and put it out, I would essentially, you can't solve a problem unless you discuss it or unless you're dealing with it head on, right? But a lot of times, like let's say it's someone that hurt us, right? I'm not going to want to go and approach them about it. But I also, so there's a few different ways you can go about these situations, right? Like in terms of a general reaction. I can either avoid them, right? And then they don't know that they've done something to hurt me. I can try to inflict the same type of pain that they inflicted upon me. I can talk to other people about it and get this whole group of people that now dislike this person. Or we can have a conversation about it and be like, hey, I don't like the way you spoke to me this way, or I don't like the way that you did this, or whatever, and solve the situation. Which one do you think is the right way?
Revenge. I feel like that was option 2.
Okay. Nice.
Was that the answer you were looking for?
Which one do you think is the right way?
The last one.
Right? Squash it.
With revenge.
All right, question time. If you were in this situation, right, and someone hurt your feelings, what would it look like for you to tell them about how you have been hurt without trying to hurt them in return?
Um,
To act it out. Kevin stinks. Oh, I got him good. Have a conversation.
Ariel, you hurt my feelings.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I said a fact.
Okay. Problem resolved.
Is it actually resolved, though?
No. I'm plotting real fast.
Kevin.
You're going to see a bunch of potatoes in your backyard.
Well, I love potatoes. So.
That's not even
Okay, but do you see how in my situation, right, when I've hurt someone, it's easy for me to just explain my behaviors away? That's not insulting if it's true.
Okay, I guess we're still going with it's what is it? It's not what you said, it's how you said it. There's things like that. I in a case like that, yeah, you know, someone actually could smell or whatever, right? But there is, hey, like you can pull them aside, or compared to putting them on blast in front of everyone, you know, there's all those things to even negate there being a conflict. But now if there is, it's, you know, I think there's a certain level of maturity that's needed on both sides, right? Of, hey, okay, fine, I smelled, but like you didn't have to say that, you know, right? For the person to just kind of come back, no, I was right. Like there's a certain level of immaturity there in which they don't have the emotional intelligence, I guess, to see, hey, though I might be in the right about
What
about what I said, emotionally the way I approached it was wrong.
Yep. And I think in those situations, a lot of times it's hard for us. Well, it has been hard for me to maintain that level of peace about me, right? Because in situations like those, it's easy to get riled up, especially when someone is like I don't want to say attacking, but I guess like coming after your person, right? It can be like I said, like Kevin smells. Or it can be something like I don't know, just like a trait or something that just an insult that you can take it as. But we are called to be peacemakers, right? I think I've often also found that in situations where tensions are high and emotions are high, you don't really come to a resolution if both parties are just trying to come back at each other, right? If emotions are high and you're constantly just thinking of how you can rebut, no two sides are going to come to an agreement or come to a conclusion, right? And a lot of times people think that they're being a peacekeeper, or a lot of times people say that they're being a peacekeeper, but there's a difference between a peacekeeper and a peacemaker.
Okay.
Right? So a peacekeeper will, let's say in certain situations, they will not bring up certain topics if they know that it's going to cause a situation, right? Or if someone does something, they'll just eat it. They'll just hold it. They won't say anything about it. But that doesn't correct the behavior, right? So if I'm not the one that's keeping the peace, then hold on. If I'm not present to keep the peace, then there is always that chance that someone else is going to come and disrupt the peace, right? Because there is that false sense of peace because there is no
it's
opposition.
Appeasement,
yeah.
Right? It's, you know, Asha and Farah don't like each other, so when we get together, we keep them apart.
Yeah.
But if no one's there to keep them apart, then it's, you know, all hell breaks loose. And that's appeasement, right? It's, you just keep them separate. Peacemaking, I'll let you.
No, continue.
Peacemaking would be, hey, Asha, Farah, we got to sit down and.
What's the root of this
What's
problem?
the root of this? How do we not just squash it, but how do we like resolve it and move forward?
Yep.
Right? Conflict free. But I think appeasement is such an easier option. Most of us trick ourselves into thinking we're peacemakers because we've kept the peace and we've kept it long enough that we think, oh, okay, we've made peace, when no, we haven't made peace. We've just pushed the conflict from going off further down the road. We're just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you, like, how would you describe the difference between the peacekeeper versus the peacemaker? Right?
Mhm.
So like you said, yeah, you are just kicking the can further down the road, right?
Yeah.
But eventually you'll trip over it.
Mhm.
Versus picking the can up and putting it in the recycling bin. I just had to clarify that.
I also think when it comes to being a peacemaker,
Mm-hmm.
there is again a certain level of wisdom that's needed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you can be a peacemaker as, again, Asha and Farah have a problem. You can be the peacemaker as someone who's not involved in the situation,
Yeah.
but it's a whole other thing to be a peacemaker when you are the one in the situation, right? It's going to be much harder for Farah or Asha to be the peacemaker when the other one doesn't want peace in that moment because of whatever happened, right? It's much harder, right? And I think in situations like that, it's easier to be the peacekeeper and, hey, you know what? I don't want this conflict with you. So instead of talking to you, I'm just going to avoid you,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, I've seen that happen so many times, like in churches, right? Where something happens, and all of a sudden, hey, you know what? I'm just not gonna be, I won't come to the evening service because I know that person's gonna be there.
Yeah.
I'll just come to the morning. When it comes to the morning service, they sit on the right side. They sit on the right side. I sit on the left side. I did it backwards and it messed me up. But we treat things like that. We're like, okay, cool. There's no conflict. No, there's a conflict. We're just not talking about it. And a deferred conflict is still a conflict.
Yep. I don't know, do you know the soundbite? I don't remember if it was a Vine or a TikTok or what, but it was literally, I don't want peace. I want problems.
Yeah.
Always. And so someone sent that to me this was a little while ago. And I was like, I realized I used to use that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that, like, words are very powerful. Right? So if you're constantly saying that, it's going to constantly happen. Right? So I had to nix that real quick because it was true. Right? There was a point where I was like, I don't want peace. Like, I want the problem. I want the fight. Right? And that's also not a healthy way to be.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't always be looking for a fight to have.
Realistically, you should probably never be looking for the fight.
Spices things up every now and then.
Yes. But again, if you're the peacemaker, right, you're not looking for
a fight to resolve either.
You're not looking to create conflict. Mm-hmm. You're looking to end the conflict and resolve it, right? And there's obviously a peacemaker is surrounded by conflict, and I think that's something to mention, but it's how you respond to that conflict, right? Whether you're involved in it or not. Being a peacemaker, I think, is about, okay, I see conflict. How are we going to resolve it, right? It's the idea. Honestly, it's the idea of being a firefighter. Okay, I see a fire. How am I going to put it out, right? Peacekeeper is, hey, there's a fire over there. Let's no one go in that building. Stay away from it, right? Because you're going to get burned. That's a peacekeeper, right? There are times when that's needed, right? There's a time when if there's a fire happening and it's a whole building, you need people to keep other people out and evacuate and, move things around. But at some point, a firefighter has to come in with a hose or whatever equipment they have and say, all right, we got to take out this fire now.
I think it's important to note when you should be a peacekeeper versus a peacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, in a lot of situations, you need both, right?
Yeah.
I need someone to keep the peace amongst this group so that we can make the peace amongst this.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And so in Colossians as well, Paul talks to the church and tells them that, Colossians 3, that essentially that we should be putting on a Christ-like character as kind of like an article of clothing, right? It's something that you have to be conscious of the fact that you are putting on. Right? It's not something that'll just be innate to you all the time. It comes with building that relationship and by surrendering yourself to God. Because a lot of times when you are building that relationship and you are venturing out into the world, right, you will be faced with conflict. And it's about how you handle that conflict that people can see that God is in you and within you.
You know, I think it's an important thing to note that conflict is just a natural part of life.
Yeah.
Right? It's impossible to live a conflict-free life unless you have zero interaction with people. Right? Realistically, that's the only way it's going to happen.
I mean,
right?
even then, I feel like you can have conflict.
Probably, but your chances are so much. You've mitigated so much causes of conflict, because once you come in contact with people, there's going to be a conflict, right? And not all conflicts are massive disagreements and issues, right? Conflicts can be small, right? But again, it's to what you're saying. How are we responding to that, right? I think to the thing we're talking about with the firefighters, the ultimate goal is to make peace. The ultimate goal is to put out the fire, right? Because if not, even if you have peacekeepers there, right, or you have, police or whatever, they barricade off the block. No one can get to it. If you don't put out the fire, it's going to start spreading to other buildings that are there, right? There are other things that are going to get destroyed, right? At some point, you have to put out this fire, right? Or it's just going to keep feeding on whatever's there, right? Yes, you may protect other people, but at some point, there's going to be massive devastation and destruction, right? And that's where you need the peacekeepers to step in, right? Okay, hey, we got everyone is safe. Okay, all right, here's the fire. How do we, what's the plan of attack, right? Are we starting from, this wall over here? Are we starting over here? What are we doing? I think that's so crucial. And I think it's interesting that Christ or God calls us to be peacemakers. Even looking at last week's episode with the scripture on the two scriptures, Jeremiah 29 and Psalms 14, right? The talk about there being wicked people and the talk about the captivity of the Israelites, right? We see in the Bible bad things happen to God's people, yet God is saying, no, I want you to put out the fire. I want you to be the one that will step up and say, okay, how do we solve this? How do we resolve it? How do we move forward?
So, yes, and also going back to when Paul is telling the people of the church to put on that Christ-like character, right? He's also saying that it's that character and that energy of peace should be as visible on you as is an item of clothing, right? So it should exude from you in these moments.
It's a firefighter's uniform.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in your mind when you see them coming.
Yep.
This is a firefighter. They're going to fight a fire.
Exactly. And then I think that's a kind of, in this culture, right, in this day and age that we currently live in, it is easy to not have to put that on, right? Because it's so easy to cut someone off or to go ghost or to just remove yourself from situations where a lot of times nowadays people don't practice conflict resolution amongst their relations.
Well, I think, and I feel like this is a big sort of trend because of social media, which is you see all this advice, well, if you're in a toxic situation, just take yourself out. Yeah. Yes, get yourself out, but you haven't actually resolved the issue, right? I'm trying to think of a better example.
Not every situation that is unfavorable is toxic.
Yeah, that's why, the toxic was a bad one.
So, like, if you and a friend disagree, right? And it's something, like you just have a squabble. Doesn't mean you have to cut them out of your life, right? You can still come to, why do you think of it this way? Why do I think of it this way? Now, in certain relationships there are non-negotiables, right? So there should be those core beliefs that you guys agree on. And if that is if your non-negotiable is non-negotiating, right? If it's not going, then I wouldn't say ghost them, but that is also another conversation to be had.
So
Right.
and to that, like one of the things, like last weekend I was in Vegas for something, and the people I was with, obviously we're not all Christian. So they wanted to do certain things that I didn't agree with. Now because we're friends, it was like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. Do you want to come with me? Right? Just a simple invite, right? It's on me to be, hey, no, I don't do that. This is what I believe, blah, 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 right? Now, in some cases, that can become a conflict, right? Somebody like, oh, well, why don't you, you got to lighten up, or,
Yeah.
those things, right? Again, now, it's on you to now know, okay, when do I keep the peace and when do I look to make peace, right? Because there were little things that had happened during the trip just within our group where we're like, okay, for the sake of this trip, we're going to keep peace, right? We're not going to say anything. We're not going to bring anything up, right? Now, I know because I just got text message that everyone's back home. Okay, at some point, we're going to have to make some peace here because people are angry, right?
Ooh.
And that's going to eventually just boil over until there's only so long you can keep putting everyone together in the same room, and eventually someone's going to take a little jab at someone, and we know how people are, right? These things happen, and eventually it's going to blow up, right? So at some point someone say, hey, you know what? Hey, group A, group B, hey, we got to sit down and talk about this. For the sake of all of our friendships, we have to talk about this, right? And now, if you're not willing to talk about it, then that's also an indicator of, hey, you know what? I don't want to contradict what we were saying earlier, but okay, if Asha and Farah have an issue and Farah doesn't want to sit down at the table and talk, then at some point we have to kind of go and say, okay, Farah, hey, if you're not willing to resolve this and come to a place where, hey, I'm not saying you have to know how to, but I'm willing to work at resolving it. If you're just not willing to, okay, now we have to kind of look at, okay, how do we distance ourselves from this person? Right?
Yeah, Farah. She didn't even hear any context.
Nope. Okay.
I feel like that's a good cliffhanger. Stay tuned for next week, and we'll see how Kevin resolves the situation with his friends. Ooh.
It's not going to get resolved by next week. I know that much.
Well, next time we film?
No, definitely not. It's not going to get resolved until... This is like a thing that's going to brew until the summer. Because of the people involved, it's going to take something where, like, you got to, like... Well, this goes to another point. Peacemaking is not instantaneous.
Correct.
Right? It's not a one shot and done. Sometimes, yes, maybe the conflict.
Yeah.
In this particular case, some of this stuff, and I didn't even realize how deep it ran until people started talking. I was like, oh, this is not just A and B, it's A and B because A asked this person to help B, and then B did this, so now the friend is mad at A because B... I'll
Okay.
explain it better afterwards. But,
Okay.
it becomes... It's... Asha asks you to do a favor for Farah, and Farah mistreated you, and now you're mad at Asha
for
for bringing
asking
you
me.
into it.
Gotcha.
So now it's a whole big thing. I feel like one of you was about to say something, or no? Okay, so I feel like I saw a hand, but I was in the middle of my train of thought, and I just didn't want to lose it. Okay, never mind.
All right, cool. Keep the peace, guys. No, make the peace, guys. Or actually do both. Read the room.
Bye.